Belknap. Hey, we are live. Guys, I'd like to welcome you to the Thursday night edition of the Let's Talk Fishing video podcast. Man, I have made sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. It's no secret that I have fallen in love with fishing the Louisiana coast. One of my favorite places to go is the Port Fourchon, Grand Isle area. I met this guy, Captain Owen Belknap, years ago when he was in college, driving around and fishing his kayak. Man, he's done very well. Now he is a captain, and he runs for a charter service called Down the Bayou Charters. They fish for a little bit of everything, and I can't wait to talk to this guy. So without further ado, give you Captain Owen Belknap. How you doing tonight, Owen? I think Owen.
Another day in paradise down here.
Another day in paradise down here.
Yeah, man. Sitting in the lodge in Port Fourchon. Been fishing the last few days and got a few more trips coming up, and just living life on the water every day and can't complain, man.
Man, I have had so much fun since I've moved down to southern Louisiana, fishing that area that you target. First 5 years I was down here. And, so I spent a lot of time in Fourchon. Man, I looked at that water and I'm like, there's got to be fish in there. There's got to be fish in there. I found out I was certainly right. I have caught more big trout in the Grand Isle area than any other place I fished on the coast. Why are there so many big trout in that area? Do you know?
Man, I wish I could give you a real answer on that. But man, there's just something about the ecosystem down here, especially like where we're particularly located at, with the beaches and the marshes and the oyster reefs, and that it's such a good and natural and salty habitat here that there just seems to always be trout. I mean, it's February right now, and we're still going out and catching 40 to 80 trout a day. It's fantastic fishing, and sometimes I'm catching them within sight of our houseboat and our lodge. You leave and the guy's like, hey, how long of a run are we gonna have? And I'm like, see those poles over there? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, that's where we're going to go start. And then you pull up and you don't even have to leave that sometimes. You can hit one spot and you're like, well, guys, we're going to go look for redfish now, or sheep's head or flounder or whatever else. And, we just knocked out our trout in 30 minutes, 45 minutes. So it's really just a cool place. 5 minutes you can be on the beach. 5 minutes you can be in the bay on some oyster reefs. 5 minutes you can be in marsh, broken marsh, chasing redfish and trout and there. So you can fish so many different types of bottom structure and contour and water depth. Really, it's easy to target them, based off, what time of year it is and what pattern they're in. You say, oh, I'm going to go over here today. Instead of making a left, I'm going to make a right. And so it's just a cool place to fish, man.
I agree with that. So, man, a 5-minute boat ride from Port Fourchon, you can be on numbers of trout. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Sometimes we have clients who
that is just fantastic.
Spend the night here at the lodge, and they catch them right off here. Like they'll be catching trout all night in the lights at our houseboat.
Wow. So that brings me to a good point. So you are a full service. Down the Bayou is a full service outfitter, because you guys also, let me see, is a full service outfitter, correct? You guys also have lodging?
Yes, sir. So we do offshore, inshore, fly fishing, sight fishing trips, and we have a houseboat that can sleep up to 30 guests. We have a private chef if available. We really fish for everything from billfish to, and 5,000 feet of water, all the way to redfish in 4 inches of water in the winter when we're doing our fly fishing trips. And not only that, we can accommodate, groups up to about 30 and at our lodging. And, you can cook yourself here. We can do the private chef with full service cleaning staff. So, yeah, man, if it can be done for our clients, we do it.
Man, we have quite a few comments we have to catch up on here now. First of all, it's International Freshwater Fishing Hall of Famer Jim Grant. Also, he's a rod manufacturer, Grant Rods. He says, "Welcome to the industry. The bayou is loaded with fish, and he's excited to hear from us." So that's Jim Grant. Great, and he's also recommending you to Chuck Munnings, who's a fly fisherman up north who fishes for mostly steelhead. Steelhead fishing on fly rod is a whole lot of fun. Roy Widgeon from Kayak Fishing Magazine says, "Oh snap, I need that vacation." He said, "Hello from USA Kayak Fishing Magazine." I guess he heard me mention that you used to write around on kayaks. So thank you, guys, Jim, Roy.
That was a different time in my life, man. When I first met you, I was fishing on the Hobie Pro team and taking my kayak with me and traveling around the private boats, chasing marlin and all that kind of stuff. And then, a few years ago, I came over to the charter world and haven't looked back, but I do miss those kayak days. So, they're fun. They have a special place in this industry and in the marsh down here. So, do miss it sometimes.
Oh yeah, kayak fishing in the marsh, that's got to be a blast. I mean, just getting up close and personal with the redfish, that would be fun.
I'm sure you've Cajun sleigh ride. Yeah, man, the Cajun sleigh ride is quite fun on the big bull red and the kayak. And now instead of a kayak, I'm doing that in an 18-foot pole and skiff in the winters, taking people to sight fish big bull reds or fly fish for them. And same kind of feel as a kayak, just have a motor on the back.
Yeah, and you can reach out and touch them from 30 miles away. That's great.
Yep, it's quite nice being able to be maneuverable, especially in the winter with our water levels changing and water clarity and stuff. Sometimes I have to run a little bit further than 5 minutes, but same thing there. I can be pulling for redfish. Really, I think my closest run for that's about 7 minutes, and I can be pulling for redfish in 6 inches of water. Again, still being able to kind of see the houseboat. It's really cool.
You've mentioned that 6 inches of water. Okay. You catch redfish in 6 inches of water.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. So in the winter, when our crabs start running really good up in the marsh, the redfish, especially the big bulls, will move in with the cooler water temps. They can be in the shallower water, be a little more comfortable. They're chasing the crabs. And I would say, average depth that I'm chasing them is probably a foot. But also on real low tides, we'll be my boat will float in 4 to 7 inches. And so I'm right on the crux of that a lot in, 6.5, 7, 8 inches, and you look up and there's a 30 inch, 40 inch red, his back's out of the water and he's chasing crabs. And, you're not even looking into the water sometimes to find them. You're just looking to see their backs out of the water. And when they're crawling, it's one of the funnest things you can go do.
Wow. So you're casting flies, those things, in that shallow water.
Yeah, most of the clients that we're taking are doing that are doing the fly fishing. But we also can do that conventionally. I hand tie some sight casting jigs on some real light jig heads. 1/16, 1/8 ounce jig heads, and then you can take a spinning rod and go give a very similar presentation to the fly, but with a conventional.
Sure.
So that fishery is not just limited to guys that can throw a fly rod. If you want to do that conventionally, that's 100% something that we can do and make happen. All I have to do is take fly rods out of the boat and put the spinning rods in the boat and leave. So it's not a hard transition to make. So it's fun, man. It's really worth coming down and experiencing at some point.
We have a question about your flats boat. Is that a Carolina skiff?
No, sir. Nope, not a Carolina skiff. Running a Maverick right now.
Okay. I hope you heard that, Roy. He's running a Maverick. Um, wow. I mean, 6 inches of water. That's just foreign to me. When I fish for reds, I'm looking for moving water. Definitely moving water, and sometimes windblown points. And I'm sure you find reds in that those kind of conditions too.
Oh yeah, and it's really kind of based upon what kind of trip I'm running. Like tomorrow, I'm taking a group of guys out in my 24-foot blue wave to go do a standard conventional trip, and I'll be fishing some rock jetties, some breaks in the rocks where water's coming
Man, if you can find breaks in the rocks
on
where
one
rod
side, and
is,
we've got a ditch in the middle. For the reds there, windblown points, all that stuff in three to all the way down 25, 30 foot of water for the reds and for the trout. But when you want to specifically go sight fish for them, you've got to go get in really 2 foot or less. Unless the water's just incredibly clear, like sometimes we get them on the beaches where you can go sight fish the big schools of them. But typically I go getting a foot and a half, maybe 2 foot. But I'd really say I like to be 18 inches or less when I'm sight fishing for them. Big grassy flats, they're out there cruising and chasing bait and crabs, and all you got to do is line up the bow and make a good shot, and more times than not that redfish is going to eat what you put in front of his face, and it's fun to watch him eat.
okay, if somebody wants to go out with you and do this sight fishing or fly casting with you, what time of the year would they want to set up a trip with you?
Yeah, so the best time, to go target the big bull reds, right? So that's really kind of the name of the game. We're not looking for a slot fish. We're going to look for a 30-inch over fish on that sight fishing, fly fishing kind of thing. Really, middle of October through the end of March would be about the extent of that season. But November, December, January, and February, those 4 months really are like the highlighted months in there. That's when I would say, if you really want to come down and do it, I would be inside of those 4 months somewhere. And the cool thing is, I primarily run offshore trips. If you looked at like a percentage breakdown of my trips, but I run all of those, middle of April through middle of October. And then our weather just gets too unpredictable to really book trips this time of year. So we'll call people when we have a good weather window to go do the tunas in the winter or go do the wahoos. But it can be blowing, the other day I think I was fishing, it was blowing like 28 knots. And we went out and caught 13 reds that day sight fishing. And I think like 8 of them were over 35
Wow.
inches. So the weather, it really has to
Jeez.
be bad weather, really bad weather for me to not to have to cancel a trip to go do that. Because you go get in protected water, and it may be a little dirtier, but you can still find them and have a really successful day.
Guys, I want to put this in perspective. 13 fish, 13 reds over 35 inches. Your arms are going to hurt. You
Oh yeah,
cannot be a 35-inch red, particularly not on light spinning gear. In light spinning gear, that's going to take you 40 minutes. And he's
yeah,
going to make a ruckus in shallow water, man.
yeah. That day in particular was really cool and really unexpected. So I had a group of guys in, and we left, and I kind of told them, I said, man, like it's really blowing today. I've got an idea of where I think they're going to be. And the first kind of little pond that I came into, we saw 8 of them. And their backs were out of the water. And what's cool as an angler, for me talking to an angler, sometimes it's really hard to explain to people that, how a fish is reacting, right? Or maybe
Yes.
why they're not eating this or why they're eating this. But when you can see the fish and they make that first cast, then you can explain to them like, hey, you saw how he was sitting there and his fins were tucked in, and the first time you twitched it, he shot his pectoral fins out, and he kind of perked up, he got excited, and then when you did this, he left it alone. So I can really
I think we just lost your whatever you just did, Owen. We lost your audio. We seem to have lost Owen's audio here for a second, guys. We're going to talk about this. What he was talking about was how a fish reacts to bait when you throw it out. He's talking about sight fishing. I have seen that. You cast out and you make a jerk, and the fish looks at him. And then he kind of tenses his body up and goes at it. It's one of the most exciting things you can do in fishing, I think. And everything was going fine. And yeah, we can't hear you, Owen. Okay, he completely lost his audio. Check and see if you still have if you muted your microphone, Owen. In the upper right, you'll see a menu with three dots. Click on that and see if the mute is hit. Go down, and then there's also edit mix settings. See if you can tweak that. Boy, we're 16 minutes into this. See if you can do that. But Owen was talking about sight fishing for reds. If you've never caught a red, come on down here. Fish with Owen. Okay, there he goes. Let's see if he can come back on. Come on down here, man. Redfish are that for those of you guys from up north who grew up fishing up north like I did, you've probably seen the common carp. They look a lot like a common carp, but they're like a common carp who's actually been working out. They're a little bit more sleek. Their meat tastes a whole lot better. I've never eaten the common carp, but I have eaten lots of redfish. They taste great. A lot of people blacken them. I like to throw them right on the grill and put some butter on them. It's really and just throw, but I leave on the skin. That's what's great. Okay, his microphone is not muted. Turn up your volume, Owen. Unmute. Make sure that your microphone is not muted. Yeah, we still can't hear you, buddy. But and when it's on the grill, you throw it on there. Make sure that you have your butter out and just douse it with butter before you throw it on. Before you throw it on the grill, leave on the skin. Then so you have a fillet with the skin on, and just put it on there, and then just sit there and squeeze. I like to just get two or three fresh lemons, cut them in half, and just sit there and squeeze the lemon juice on them. Yeah, I don't know what happened with him, but other ways I've caught redfish and fish in the marsh that I was going to get to with Owen. Give me a sound check, Owen. Yeah. The best way that most of these outfitters are going to do with you is you're going to go out there and you're going to cast what's known as a popping cork. Something just like this. This is a 7-foot razor rods. This is a popping cork. You hear that? Here, let's see if this works. He got out and got back on. I'm going to add him to the stage.
Can you hear me now?
Test 1 2. I can hear you now, man. Wow. Welcome back.
Fantastic.
Welcome back. We were just talking about popping corks. I'm sure you do a lot of that with your.
A lot of the popping corks. A lot of
just showing. This is an Undertaker cork I have right here. I'm sure you're familiar with that noise. Now, what do you think that noise imitates?
Oh, shrimp popping, 100%. On like a good,
Okay.
yeah, on a good calm day, when you can be kind of quiet and still, and the shrimp are moving, you'll hear them coming across the. You'll hear them popping, and
Okay.
that's all that's imitating, in the water. So, 100%, that's what it's imitating, and it's effective, very effective. And I will say,
Man,
I will I will say that a lot of people follow the same cadence and rhythm, and I would recommend changing that up sometimes.
oh yeah, definitely. If you're on a good bite and all of a sudden it stops, change up your cadence before you move. But yeah, that works
Yep.
for
Sometimes, I
trout.
mean, I
That
have some
works for
days you have to
flounder.
never
That works for
stop.
redfish. Never stop. Okay.
Yep. It's no different than, yeah, I mean, and sometimes it's never stop. Sometimes it's pop, pop, and I just have to sit there and hold it for 45 seconds, and then it goes under. Sometimes it's pop, pop, pause, wait a few seconds, pop, pop, pause. So you never know. It depends how fired the fish are, how fired up they are or how not fired up they are. But a lot of people use the same cadence all the time. And I think that they miss out on opportunities to catch more fish by not playing with it like the popping cork is a bait itself.
Wow. Yep. That's a good point. Just like with, a lot of the people who watch my show are bass fishermen, and they would understand the bass get in different moods, and they're just not willing to eat some things. And it's the same lure worked differently can change your success rate.
Yeah, that 100%. And I think people don't look at the popping cork as an extension of the lure or a lure as itself, but it really is. It's one of the biggest attracting factors to that bait that you have underneath there. And, sometimes the pop cork makes more of a difference than the bait itself. So, one of the things I'll do is I'll create my own popping cork. I'll use a swivel,
Okay.
and you take a swivel, got your leader, however long that you want it to be, kind of based off the water depth you're fishing, and just like a Carolina rig where you add clackers or like brass beads or whatever, you can take.
Or glass beads. Yeah.
Yep. And so what I'll do is instead of using steel, I'll just put like a 3 or 4 inch section of like 100 pound like monofilament or fluorocarbon, so it's a little bit stiffer and more rigid. And I'll just add a couple beads in there, and I'll like make it sound a little different. You can do little things, or you can just do your braided line straight to it. And this is a cool little like hack, especially if you're like only fishing with one rod in a kayak or something like that. You just make a Carolina rig and clip a bobber on top of it, and now you got a popping cork, and then you can take the bobber off, and now you got a Carolina rig. So it's a good
Something
way to
I've always
change up.
wondered. I'm not as I haven't spent 40 years targeting the marsh like I have up the waters up north. Where do you start? Let's say you're targeting an area that's 5 feet deep. And do you start halfway down the water column with your where you're going to set the geez technical difficulties now? Do you start halfway down the water column when you're making a leader for your popping cork?
So I think that with the trout, and if you're using a popping cork, um, that's a really, I would say it's a really good place to start. One of the things that I really look at is how much current am I fishing, um, because it doesn't matter, however long your leader is, but if you're fishing in say like a drainage ditch where it's really pouring out, Well, your shrimp is going to get drug up to the top behind that popping cork because of the current. So it's still fishing the top of the water. So
Yeah.
really, I'll take, like I'd say on average, my average leader I start with is, about 2 feet long, right in there somewhere, give or
Sure.
take a few inches. But if the current is moving a lot, or I'm fishing somewhere where it's really going, I'll switch out from a kale hook to a jig head, or put a little split
Yes.
shot above my kale hook, just to keep that bait where I want it to fish. Now, if there's no
That's
real current, then I'll play with my leader length a little bit more, depending on how the fish are biting.
that's a very good point. Yeah. If there's 1/8 ounce jig head, 1/4 ounce jig head. Unless it's 20 feet deep, I usually don't go bigger than a 1/4 ounce. But but I guess if the current's really ripping, you have to.
Over 3/8.
You like to go up to 3/8.
3/8 would be like if I'm fishing like the rock jetties, somewhere where I
Yes.
want my bait to have constant contact with the structure that I'm fishing, bouncing off of rocks, looking for redfish or something like that. And that would be in deeper, like a little bit deeper water and some current there. But yeah, man, most of the time a 1/4 ounce is just a great place to start. It's a great all around. And if you notice, oh man, my bait's not really getting down where I want it to get down at, then go a little bit heavier to that 3/8, maybe a half in some extreme circumstances down here. But typically, it seems like the less lead, the better.
One thing I want to tell these bass guys: if you like bass, I love going out to the jetties and finding some current and throwing a bass jig. Some like a football head jig. Redfish gobble those things up, and it's so much fun to feel a thump when those things take it. You lay into them, and then you have a big old bass. You have a big old bait caster. I have played tug of war with these things before, and let me tell you, they are strong.
Oh, man, from the bass guys tend to be my favorite people when they step into a boat, because there's
Yes.
so many applications from bass fishing that apply to inshore fishing. Throw in twitch baits like the mirror lure, the mirrodines, but twitch baits, jerk baits for
The spook.
trout. Yeah, walking the dog for redfish and trout. There you go, top water fishing. If you've been a bass guy, you can walk the dog. You can go catch trout. Now the trick is, this is where bass people struggle at the top water. Is when a bass comes up in his top water, a lot of people pause, and the trout and the redfish do not like the pause. If I'm twitching a bait and it's walking across the surface and it gets hit and thrown 3 feet, I never stop my cadence. As soon as it hits the water, keep going.
I would have a problem with that, and that's why I'm missing them. Thank you for telling me that, because man, with a bass, if and you see a swirl, stop. Where'd he go? Damn.
Yep, that redfish, they're so predatory that that movement is making them angry. Like, I truly believe it irritates them to the point that they have to kill it. And if they think it's still alive, they're coming back for it. And I've seen, trout hit once, twice, 3 times, the same fish. He hits, he misses, you watch him spin around, and you're still twitching, he eats it again until he gets the hook in him. So yeah, that's a thing. That's one area. But swim jigs for redfish with a kite,
Oh yeah.
yeah, 3/8 ounce swim jig with a Kitech on the back. Underspins for redfish. Spinner baits for redfish is effective. Chatterbaits are insanely. Give me a black and blue chatterbait and I can go beat bank all day. I will go catch redfish doing that. There's so many baits from the freshwater side that bass fishermen are familiar with, that they could take their tackle box, come down here, not buy a single saltwater lure. Now they're going to ruin their freshwater lure as soon as it touches saltwater. After you get done with it, throw it away. It's rusty. It's gone.
Done. It's done. Yeah.
It's not good anymore. But there's so many things that they have in their tackle box that immediately apply here. And really, all you're doing is changing up the colors, maybe. I mean, I fish for redfish, white, yellow, pink, and then a dark colored bait for contrast in muddy water. And that's what I live with. All my top waters are colored that way. You know, my swim baits and all that stuff are pretty much whites, pinks, few yellows. I don't use the yellows much in the swim bait for some reason. And then like a dark, like a olive green kind of color, just for contrast in dark water. Maybe a black if it's super, super dirty. But that's it. If you have those four colors in top waters, jerk baits, swim jigs, like the clown color in the swim jigs, who makes that bait? Oh, I'm gonna forget the name. Dadgummit. Anyway, clown color, which has got the white chartreuse and pink in it. That is a fantastic for redfish.
Yeah, we're having some kind of drums here, guys.
The clown and
yeah, that's one thing I wanted to. Yes, I like to drive that home when I do redfish shows because they are so much like bass, but then again, they're not because these fish have shoulders. You're not gonna. It's gonna take you a while to get them in. They fight. They jump. They take off on. They take off. And for those of you guys who like to fish walleyes up north, the speckled trout do head shakes just like a walleye does, and you hook into a speckled trout, and you're making sure that you don't have a rod good and loaded up. He's going to start just like a walleye. And that first time I felt that, it gave me goosebumps because I was remembering all the great times I had walleye fishing with my dad when I was young. And the first time I laid into a walleye and he started his head shaking, they're down there doing this. And this time of the year is a fantastic time to get down here, guys, because the speckled trout are running big. I have caught them this year in the area that Captain Owen guides, over 20 inches long. And that's a phenomenal size. That's an amazing size. A lot of people fish their entire lives and never catch a 20-inch plus trout. And I'm sure you can tell them that, can't you, Owen?
I mean, the amount of fish that I'm going to see in a season, and I inshore fish probably 50, 60 days a year out of the, 180 to 200 days that I'm fishing a year. I'll probably see 20-ish fish a year. And it depends. In May, we catch a lot of fish at that 18 to 21 inch range. But when you start getting over 23 inches, that's really a solid fish. You're looking at a 4 or 5 pound trout. And in Louisiana, we have the numbers, not necessarily the same size that they will in Texas and Florida.
Oh yeah,
really
in Texas,
nice
I see a lot
quality trout here. They're just a little bit harder to come by, but midwinter and May are really kind of the two times to go target them.
That is awesome, man. Yeah, I see pictures all the time in Texas of 30-inch plus trout, and my goodness. Owen, I don't know how you feel about this, but with trout, anything right around 18 to 20 inches, they just seem to turn into a different fish. They fight a whole lot better. They just turn mean. I love it.
There's a really good tell to know if you have a good trout on. So you can always feel the head shakes, but if he immediately comes to the top of the water, he may be a 13, 14, 15, 16-inch trout that comes up and shakes his head. But if you can feel the head shakes and he stays down and he's biting, that's how you know you got a good one. They are a lot mean. The bigger they are, the meaner they are. That is a fact with trout. And hopefully, with the new regulations and things that are going on now, because you can only keep 2 fish over 20 inches now here, and going from the 25 to 15, hopefully we'll see some bigger trout. in the upcoming years, because if we could start growing 30-inch trout here, we'd have the best trout
Ooh,
fishery in the world. The numbers
we
and
sure
30-inch
would.
trout, I'm in.
With the numbers we have, wow, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. That would
It
be
would be
absolutely
fantastic.
amazing, man. Well, Owen, it's like 35 after the hour. Do you have any shout outs you'd like to do? Any thank yous to any organizations, companies, sponsors, people who have helped you along the way?
Yeah, I mean, man, so many good companies over the year. Obviously, Daiwa. I'm a diehard Daiwa guy. Been with them for years. Love them. Um, we'll say too the Jig Pro. If you guys go check out their YouTube, I just did a video with them. They just are releasing some new inshore baits. They've been really, really effective. Those guys have been really good. Bahio sunglasses. If you guys haven't checked them out, you really should. Love.
Okay, we're
And
having
this
a
is, I
little.
think this is.
Okay, we just missed that last. The last thing I heard of was the sunglasses thing.
Oh yeah, Bahio sunglasses, and then I was just saying thank you. The Starlink here is not being cooperative today. That's the problem living in
Yeah.
the middle of the ocean is, not the best
Yeah.
Wi-Fi.
Oh, I get it, man. I get it. But I certainly do thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. Come and talk to our listeners here on the Let's Talk Fishing video podcast. Thank you, Owen. You did a great job. You really gave us some great information. Guys, go and check out Owen Belknap down the Bayou Charters. Give him a call. Go to his Facebook page. Go to their webpage. Um, Anything you want. You want to spend a night there. You want to you want to bring down 30 people and go out. They can accommodate you. You want to go out and catch some freaking sailfish or some swordfish or some tuna. Man, if you want to catch a tuna, go in. They also have a chef who will cook up that tuna for you and your buddies. How cool is that?
Anything we catch, he'll cook anything for you. Grouper to tuna to trout, baby. If it swims in this ocean, we fish for it, and all of our guides are super passionate and love what they do. So it's a fun group to work with and a fun place to fish.
Man, I just got caught up in that fresh tuna caught. It was swimming around that day. I can't think of a better meal.
It's hard to eat sushi at restaurants now. That's a fact.
Think about that, guys. Some of that sushi you eat might have been killed months ago. That tuna was swimming around earlier, and you caught it yourself. And then this chef is going to cook it up for you. Wow. I'm mostly a tuna are just too big for me. I like my redfish. But man, guys, come on, give Captain Owen a call. Talk to him. I'm sure he can make no matter what you like to fish for, as long as it swims in the ocean, he can set up a charter for you.
Yes, sir.
And Port Fourchon, I've probably been there 60, 70 times. Great place to fish. It's such a good fishing place. I have caught the biggest speckled trout I ever caught, which was 25 inches long, was caught from the shore, not 6 miles away from where Captain Owen is right now. I've also caught 35-inch reds from the shore there. I've caught them from boats. Coming out of passes. Geez, that's just a great place to go and fish for reds. It's the fish are all over that area. I can't say enough about the area this guy targets. He's a great captain who targets some great water. Give him a call, guys. That's pretty much all I can say. But you know what? It's Thursday night. It's Mardi Gras season. Man, you don't want to go stand and fight those crowds. Get on out there and go fishing this weekend. I'm going to be fishing this weekend, and I have to go to a parade too.
I'll just be fishing.
Yeah. Well, I have to go to a parade. It's all part of being married,
Yeah. I just got a dog, so I can't say I relate to that.
Your dog goes where you want it to go. That's awesome.
Yep, he's laying down right there, just chilling.
Chilling. Yep. Very well behaved dog. So yeah, guys, get out fishing this weekend. Remember, you only get to do this once. And, the one of the absolutes about fishing is you're absolutely never going to catch anything sitting on your couch. The heck with the Super Bowl. Well, all right, I'm going to end the podcast there. Captain Owen, stick around for a couple minutes. I'll talk to you for a couple minutes after the podcast. Good night, guys.